Court does call the case, people of the state of Michigan versus Chalice McLaughlin.
We're ready in that.
Ron Brown, Deputy Chief Public Defender, been with and on behalf of Ms. McLaughlin, state your name for the record.
Thank you. Date and time set for continuation of preliminary examination. Are you ready to proceed?
We're ready to proceed.
All right, we call your first witness. Or your next witness.
I call a total of 2 witnesses. My officer in charge, Deputy Bouvet, I'd asked to be present in court, and have Deputy Phillips test.
All right, very good.
People call Deputy Alex Phillips to the stand.
All right, please come forward. Please.
Some swear from testimony is going to give the truth of
Alex Phillips, PHILLIPS.
You may inquire.
Thank you, Your Honor. And I know that we had kind of started, but I feel like I was only a handful of questions, and I'm basically just going to start from the top.
That's
Okay. Because I couldn't tell you where I left.
okay.
Sir, how are you currently employed?
Currently employed with the Washington County Sheriff's Office.
And what is your responsibilities with the Washington County Sheriff's Office?
Road patrol functions.
And where are you assigned to road patrol?
Ypsilanti Township.
Were you working in that capacity back on April the 15th of this year, 2025?
I was.
Directing your attention to around in the morning hours on that date, had you received any sort of dispatch regarding a potential stolen vehicle?
Yes.
Okay, and can you tell the court about the nature of that dispatch?
We were dispatched to the hotel located at 1275 South Huron Street for a report of a stolen vehicle. Deputy Bouvet and I made contact with the owner who advised that her gray Ford Explorer had been stolen sometime throughout the night.
Okay, and that hotel, you recall like the brand?
I believe it was the Marriott.
Okay. Based on this information that you received from the person who owned this vehicle and reported it stolen, what did you do next?
We entered the vehicle and an NCIC is stolen. Deputy Bouvet was getting updates on the vehicle's location from the Ford Pass or the Ford application that while I was tracking the vehicle.
Okay. And at some point, did you and Deputy Bouvet travel someplace in Ypsilanti Township to attempt to locate the stolen vehicle?
Yes.
Okay, where did you go?
The vehicle was showing in the area of Brook Tree Court and Woodland in the Westville neighborhood.
Okay, this is an area that you're familiar with?
Yes.
Okay. And you proceeded to this area of Brook Tree Court in the West Willow neighborhood in Ypsilanti Township?
Yes.
Okay. What, if anything, did you observe when you arrived in that location?
We entered into the cul-de-sac is on the east side of the road. When we entered in from the west side of the road, we observed a gray Ford Explorer facing on the north side of the road facing westbound, so we could not see the plate. I was in the passenger seat, Deputy Bouvet was driving. We then drove closer to the vehicle to confirm that was the stolen vehicle. Upon getting closer, we observed that the vehicle was occupied. At this point, we believed it was the stolen that was paying right in that area, so we initiated our overhead lights to initiate a felony stop.
Okay, thank you. And I'm just going to back you up a little bit. So you are the passenger in your vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. And I don't believe I asked you this. Are you and Deputy Bouvet in a marked or unmarked vehicle? Okay. This is a Ford Explorer?
Yes.
Okay. So you are, I guess, face to face with this suspected stolen vehicle. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. So you're looking at the front of that Explorer, hence you can't see the license plate.
Yes.
Objection, lady.
That's fair. I will rephrase that.
Sustained.
And you proceed in the area as you're attempting to verify the plate. You observe that the vehicle is occupied. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. How many people were in that vehicle?
Initially, we could see the driver and a passenger. Shortly after turning our overhead lights and exiting the vehicle, 2 passengers exited the vehicle.
Okay. So as you're approaching, you can observe at least 2 people, a driver and a passenger in the vehicle.
Sure.
Okay. Presumably Deputy Bouvet is driving the marked police vehicle that you are in. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So that vehicle is stopped, you activate your overhead lights. Approximately how far is your patrol vehicle from the suspected stolen vehicle?
I would say approximately 20 to 30 feet.
Okay. After you activate your overhead lights, stop your vehicle approximately 20 to 30 feet away from the suspected stolen vehicle, what do you do next?
We conducted essentially a modified felony stop. I unholstered my service weapon and pointed it at the vehicle, began to give the commands, which at this point, the two female passengers had exited the vehicle. So I started giving them commands to face away from me and put their hands up.
Okay. And let me just back you up a little bit. When you took the initial report for the stolen Ford Explorer, was there a color given of this vehicle?
Right.
Okay. And the vehicle that you had observed was consistent with that color? Was it also consistent with approximate year of the vehicle as well?
Yes.
Okay. What year was the vehicle that was reported stolen?
I do not recall, but I can check my.
Would that refresh your recollection? That's fine. Do you have your report with you? Okay. If you could just not read directly from it, refresh your memory, and then let me know when it's refreshed. It's refreshed?
It is.
Thank you. And what year was the vehicle?
2024 report.
Okay. So you have your weapon drawn, you're giving verbal commands, occupants of that vehicle, as are you physically now walking towards that vehicle?
At this point, I am walking towards and out from the patrol car.
Okay. The Ford Explorer, the suspected stolen Ford Explorer, is it parked on the side of the road?
It is.
Okay. And you said it's on the north side of the road?
Yes.
Okay. So as you exit your vehicle the patrol vehicle that you and Deputy that they are occupying stopped, are you up against the curb? Or are you more in the middle of the road?
We're more in the middle of the roadway.
Okay. So when you exit from the passenger side of the vehicle, is the Ford Explorer that you're interested in to your right or to your left? To your left. Okay. So is it fair to say that you kind of then have to walk in front of your patrol vehicle to walk in the direction of the stolen Ford Explorer, suspected stolen? Yes. Okay. And is that what you were doing as you're giving commands to the occupants of the vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. Could you see at this time who the driver of that vehicle was?
Not that exact time.
Not at that example. Okay. At some point, are you able to determine visually who the driver of that vehicle is?
Yes.
Okay. How far away were you from that vehicle when you're able to sufficiently see in the vehicle to make that identification?
10 to 15 feet.
Okay. So having the distance that you previously were? Okay. Is the driver of that vehicle in the courtroom here today?
Yes.
Can you identify an article of clothing that they're wearing?
He's wearing orange.
Orange what?
Jumpsuit.
Thank you. Your Honor, may the record reflect an in-court identification of the defendant?
That objection record shall so reflect.
Are you giving verbal commands to the driver of the vehicle to do anything at this point?
Yes.
What are you saying?
Standard procedure is to yell to roll out the window, turn the car off.
Did the driver, the defendant, appear to follow those commands in any way? Okay. As you are making these verbal commands, is your partner, Deputy, also saying things to the vehicle, if you recall?
I do not know.
Okay, fair. You're making these commands. Is your weapon still drawn?
It is
How close are you able to get to the vehicle?
maybe 20 or so feet away.
So you said you had, in order to determine the identification, you were about 10 to 15 feet away.
Correct. That
Okay.
was, but I didn't have, when I'm still giving trains, hadn't identified the driver.
Okay, all right, sorry, and that's my fault then. When you're 10 to 15 feet away and you can see the driver of the vehicle, are you still giving verbal commands at that point?
Yes.
Okay. What happens next?
At first I noticed the parking lights of the vehicle were off, and then I saw the lights, running lights turn on, and then I observed the wheel turn and the vehicle start accelerating towards me.
Okay, while all this is happening, are you saying anything or doing anything?
I believe I was going to stop.
Okay. So the running lights turn on. Did that mean anything to you at that moment?
Means that the vehicle is no longer in park and it's in drive or interior reverse.
Okay. And now the wheels turn towards you and the vehicle starts driving towards you.
Yes.
What happened next?
At that point, when the vehicle is accelerating towards me, I start pretending to move out of the way. I didn't have any cover or concealment to my left, so I was able to take about a step or two to the right. At that point, the vehicle's face on with me, approaching me at what felt like a pretty high rate of speed. At that point, I was able to look through the windshield and identify the driver as Chalice. Tried to step out of the way. I observed him turning the wheel towards me as he was accelerating, and the vehicle made contact with my left knee.
Hit your left knee? Okay. After the vehicle made contact with your left knee, what happened to you?
I spun around and hit the ground.
You had identified in your testimony the driver is Chalice, who we've identified as the defendant in court today. Is this an individual that you had ever previously had any sort of contact with?
Yes,
Okay. Approximately how many times, if you know?
at least 4 or 5. I had interaction with him maybe a week or two prior.
Okay. So the vehicle is driving towards you. You observe the defendant turn the wheel towards you. It made contact with your left knee. You spin and hit the ground. What's the next thing that you remember seeing?
Vehicle sorry away from me.
Okay, so it continued in basically in the direction that you had come in your patrol vehicle.
Yes.
Okay. And what is Deputy Bouvet, if anything, doing at this moment?
At that moment, I'm not sure.
Okay. The vehicle takes off. What do you do next?
Run back to our patrol car while trying to radio. Dispatch.
You were hit by the vehicle, but you were still able to, you still had enough mobility to get yourself into your patrol vehicle. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. Did you ultimately suffer any sort of injuries from being struck by the vehicle?
I had some minor hand swelling.
No broken bones or anything? Do you get back into the passenger side of your patrol vehicle? Okay. And what does Deputy Bouvet do?
She gets the driver's side of the vehicle.
Okay. And what happens next?
Attempted to flip around, to chase after the vehicle. That Deputy Rob was entering the neighborhood, entering onto Woodland and observed the vehicle. Attempted to stop the car.
Did you observe that happening, or is this something you're learning over radio?
Learning over the radio.
Okay. In your honor, I would not be offering it for the truth of the matter asserted.
I'll overrule the objection.
Do you and Deputy Bouvet then attempt to engage in a chase with this vehicle?
Yes, but we're pretty far along.
Okay. At some point, do you encounter the vehicle again?
Yes.
And when and where did that happen?
The vehicle crashed out in the area of Ecorse Road in Van Buren Township. On arrival, Detective Rob was taking Chalice into custody and escorting back to the patrol car.
Okay. So about how long in time was that? From the time that you and Deputy Bouvet get in your car and take off to the time that you encounter Deputy Rob with the defendant in custody, how long is that time?
Approximately 10 or 15 minutes.
Okay. And while that 10 or 15 minutes is occurring, is it fair to say you are hearing things on the radio about this ongoing pursuit?
Yes.
Okay. What was the state of this Ford Explorer when you observed it in Van Buren Township?
It was crashed.
Okay.
Pretty substantially.
And you said that you observed the defendant on the scene there?
Yes.
Okay. And what was the condition of the defendant at that time?
Healthy.
Was he in handcuffs? Was he sitting on the grass? Was he laying down?
He was handcuffed, being walked from near the gray Explorer to Deputy Rob's.
Okay. May I have one moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
I have no further questions, Judge. Thank you.
All right. Cross-examination.
Thank you. Deputy Phillips, do you recall what time it was on April 15th when you encountered the gray Ford vehicle?
9:20.
And that's in the morning?
Yes.
Okay. So you testified that you had been receiving some sort of radio reports on the status of that vehicle?
I was being tracked by the Ford mobile application.
So were you tracking it, or was someone else tracking it, giving you that information?
I believe the victim was giving information to Deputy Bouvet.
So the person who owned the vehicle was radioing or talking to Deputy Beauvais?
Yes,
How were they talking? By phone?
I believe so.
Okay, all right. And could you overhear the conversation?
No,
No, so you were just getting information from Deputy Beauvais that was communicated to her from the owner.
yes,
Okay, and then you were being told, okay, this is where they're seeing.
Yes.
Okay, so at some point you make contact or you see the gray Ford Explorer yourself. Is that right?
yes.
Where is that you see it?
I was in front of, I believe, 2341 Rotary Court.
Okay, and you said that's a cul-de-sac. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now you see the vehicle. Is it moving or is it parked? Okay, or stationary anyway. And Deputy Beauvais is driving. Deputy Beauvais pulls the vehicle that you're in to within what, 30 feet of the gray Ford Explorer?
Yes, sir.
Okay, could give or take, not holding you to that. Using the distances here, and you're in the passenger seat of your vehicle. I'm going to step back and you can tell me where the front of that gray Ford Explorer was when your vehicle stopped. Ready? Okay.
Was there?
About here? Okay. And you're face to face with that vehicle, is that right?
More or less, yes.
More or less. Maybe not directly head on, but at least face to face. Now, as you testified, it's a cul-de-sac, is that correct?
Yes.
And as you pull up, when you pull up, are your lights on already? No? Okay. So does your vehicle stop before you turn the lights on?
I do not know if the vehicle was still in motion or we had put it in park over.
So let me ask you this. When your vehicle comes to a complete stop, that vehicle is also stationary, is that right?
Yes.
Are people getting out of that vehicle before or after your vehicle comes to a stop?
After the game stopped.
After your vehicle comes to a stop, people begin getting out of the vehicle, the Ford Explorer, correct? Okay. Now, the full time that passes from the time your vehicle stops to the time that Ford Explorer hits you to move on, to go away from where you are, is about 13 seconds. Is that fair?
Sounds about right.
About 13 seconds. The time from the time you get out of the vehicle and stand in the roadway to the time the vehicle hits you, that's probably about 6 seconds tops, isn't it?
I don't know the exact time.
You've had a chance to see the vehicle video of the incident, right? Did you take the time to try to count out the seconds?
I do not.
Okay. Would 6 seconds be fair, or does that sound like an exaggeration?
That sounds fair.
Okay. So from the time you get out to the time that vehicle strikes you to move on, about 6 seconds pass. So when you got out of your vehicle and you're facing, I'm going to be where you are. You're going to be where the Ford Explorer is. You did not go around your vehicle and approach the passenger side of that vehicle, did you? What you did, got out of your vehicle and you moved into the roadway area. Is that right? There's a reason you did that.
To get it out on the side.
Also, you were concerned that the vehicle might try to leave, right?
It's a possibility.
Because as you said, people were getting out of the vehicle, right? All right. And one of the things when you did when you got out is you raised your hand. Is that right?
I believe so.
Okay. And that was for a specific reason, right?
Do not recall.
To stop the vehicle, right? You don't recall that? Okay. So you have a vehicle that you're concerned might flee. You're in the roadway. Now, let's talk about the roadway where you were. This is a cul-de-sac. The space between where your vehicle is and the space where the vehicle, the Ford Explorer, can get past you, how much space is that?
I'm not sure.
Okay. When you got into that space, was there any space where the vehicle could drive around you and past your vehicle without hitting your vehicle?
There may have been.
May have been, or there may not have been, right? Correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So the 6 seconds that you get out of your vehicle, you get there, you have your hand up. That vehicle then drives by and it strikes you on its way out, right? Okay. Does Mr. McLaughlin say anything to you on the way out? Okay. Does he even roll his window down? Does he make any threats to kill you? Does he say verbally, I'm going to kill you? You testified that the vehicle accelerates towards you. Is that correct?
Yes.
Again, you are in the roadway between the area where they are and the area to get away from that cul-de-sac. Is that right?
Yes.
So in accelerating towards you, they are also accelerating towards the roadway to get past you. Is that right? Well, let's go back just a little bit. The information you had on the gray Ford Explorer was that it was stolen sometime during the night. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Was the owner able to pinpoint a time when that vehicle was stolen?
I believe it was on the surveillance camera. There was a time.
Had you viewed the surveillance camera at the point before you had encountered the vehicle yourself?
Yes.
Okay. When did you review the surveillance camera?
At the start of my shift, when we were dispatched out there, probably 8:30 or so.
8:30 a.m.? Okay. And you said you had contact with the vehicle around 9 something?
Yes.
And I'm not trying to nail you to any times or anything like that. So in the surveillance vehicle, what time was the vehicle taken?
I do not recall.
Would it have been before your shift started?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any idea if it was that same day or the night before?
I believe it was in the early morning. So that day.
Okay, so it could have been, say, 2, 3 or something around there, right?
I would say.
It's a possibility that the vehicle would have been taken some hours before your shift, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, thank you. I don't have any further questions for you, Deputy. Appreciate
You're
your
right.
time.
Deputy Phillips, ultimately, did you have to have any sort of medical attention regarding you being about to
Yes, sir. I went to St. Joe's.
hospital?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. No.
All right, you may step. Thank you, sir.
Deputy Boulay to the stand.
Please come forward, and be sworn.
Swear firm testimony about to give you the truth, the whole truth. So you can say your name, sit down, state your name, spell my name. Go ahead.
What's your first name?
Catherine.
Thank you. And how can you spell
Can you
that?
Spell that, please. Yes, thank you.
Last name.
Both.
Katherne. You like boy, BAU, you like Victor, AIS.
Thank you. Ma'am, how are you currently employed? How long have you worked with the sheriff's office?
About 6 months.
About 6 months. Okay. Were you working in that capacity back on April the 15th of this year, 2025? So you would have been only a few months on the job at that point. Okay. Were you assigned with a partner at that time?
Yes.
And who was that?
Deputy.
Both of you were in a patrol vehicle together
Yes.
and you were driving that vehicle? Okay. You were dispatched to the Marriott Hotel regarding a stolen vehicle?
Yes.
Tell me about what, if anything, you did when you arrived at the Marriott Hotel regarding that stolen vehicle.
Upon arrival, we spoke with the owner of the vehicle who advised that her vehicle was taken sometime overnight. She explained it as the Gray Ford Explorer.
Okay. And was there some line of communication kept between you and this vehicle owner about the potential location of it based on this app that's associated with this Ford vehicle?
Yes, I advised her, she showed me the Ford Pass app that she had, she could get updated locations. And I advised her if it moved, she got an update to contact dispatch.
Okay. And is that in fact what happened?
Yes.
Okay. Based on the information you received from the vehicle owner, you and Deputy Phillips went to the West Willow neighborhood looking for this vehicle. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. Describe for the court, and obviously we've already heard the testimony from Deputy Phillips, but describe for the court what you did as you drove your patrol vehicle when you first observed this gray Ford Explorer.
Before making it down the street, I had advised that I was in the area. looking down side streets for the vehicle matching the description. I turned down with a Brooktree Court. We observed the vehicle matching the description, 24 Court Explorer, part of the street, and called out that we were out.
Okay. Did you activate any emergency equipment on your vehicle?
Deputies listed.
Okay. What did he activate?
So overhead lights.
Okay. Did you exit your vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. What did you do when you exited the vehicle?
I.
Okay. What commands were you given?
So when we pulled up, I drew down the car, and two families had popped out, so I was telling them to release their hands, and they were walking towards us.
They were walking towards us.
Deputy Phillips.
Thank you. The vehicle, are you walking kind of straight towards the vehicle at this point, based on where it is parked and where you park your patrol vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. And you still have your service weapon drawn
Yes, I was at the low ready.
at the low ready. Okay, so you're not pointing it straight out, but it's down kind of towards the ground. Thank you. You're continuing to walk towards the vehicle and give verbal commands?
As soon as the females had stepped out, I gave verbal commands and stopped walking as they were approaching.
Oh. Okay. Is it fair to say at that point you were focused on the females? Okay. Did they walk towards you?
One got out from the passenger side and walked towards Deputy Phillips, and the one from the passenger front seat. I got out and walked.
Okay. After these two females exited the vehicle, could you see if there were any other occupants of this Ford Explorer? How many and where were they seated, if you remember?
One, they were in the driver's seat.
Okay. Were you able to get a visual of the individual who was in the driver's seat of this Ford Explorer? Okay. While this is happening, you're continuing to give commands to the individuals exiting the vehicle. Is that fair to say? Okay. What happens next?
The driver had thrown, the lights came on. When, so the females had exited, the driver, had turned the lights on and the vehicle then started to move.
Okay. What, if anything, are you saying while that's happening? Okay. You observed the vehicle. What did you observe the vehicle do after it started to move?
It started moving and started driving towards Deputy Phillips.
Okay. And what did you observe happen next?
Deputy Phillips, was standing there, vehicle drove towards Deputy Phillips, tried to step out of the way, and step out.
Okay. I imagine this happened pretty quickly. Is that fair to say? Okay. During the time that you see the lights go on, the vehicle starts moving and it makes contact to Deputy Phillips. Do you have time to really do anything other than watch this happen? Okay. Do you attempt to use your radio in any way to ask for backup, help, anything like that?
Once we got out of the car.
Okay. So you observe the vehicle hit your partner, Deputy Phillips. Then what did you observe the vehicle do after that?
It continued to drive off.
Okay.
The way that we came.
What did you do next?
I asked my partner if he was okay, he got back in the car and called out that he had just been hit by a car. And we attempted to drive around.
Okay, so then you are driving the vehicle and you're attempting to get involved in the chase of this Ford Explorer. Okay, and we heard from Deputy Phillips, but you eventually encounter the vehicle now involved in some sort of crash in Van Buren Township.
Yes.
And that was about 10, 15 minutes later. Okay. At that point, were you able to make any determinations regarding whether or not the vehicle ultimately found in Van Buren Township was the same vehicle that had been reported stolen from the Marriott that morning?
Yes.
Okay. And that was the same vehicle?
Yes.
Okay.
Over.
And you yourself, Deputy, did have contact with the owner, Miss Wilhelm, of that Ford Explorer? Okay. To your knowledge, had she given anyone else any permission to use that vehicle?
No.
Okay. I have no further questions, Judge. Thank you.
Cross-examination.
Deputy Beauvais, when you were driving your police vehicle, is that right? Okay. When you pulled up, you were facing the vehicle that had been reported stolen. Is that correct? Okay. And you weren't right up against the curb, were you? Okay. You were more towards the I don't want to say complete middle of the street, but away from the curb with enough space. And this cul-de-sac is this a 2-lane sort of street?
Yes, it didn't have any fees, but it.
Okay. And when your partner got out, he went to the right of your vehicle. Is that correct? And towards the front. Is that correct?
Not directly towards the front, but walk out.
That's sort of out. So if this is your vehicle, this path would be motion. Do you recall if your partner had his hand up to stop the vehicle?
Once it got close enough to him, but not when he got out.
Okay. And do you have a good estimation of the time period from the time he got out of the vehicle, walked into the road, and the vehicle struck him? Was that about 6 seconds? Not sure. Would 6 seconds seem like a crazy amount? Would that seem untrue inherently? All right. So when you spoke with the owner of the vehicle, you said that you told her if it moved in the app to let you know?
Yes, if she continued to open the app and was getting updated locations to let dispatch know.
So did she show you the app initially?
Yes.
Was the vehicle stationary at that time? Okay. But you did say if it moved to let you know.
If she was continually checking the app and there was a different location.
So there was a location established? There was a location established when she showed you the app?
Yes.
Okay. And you don't have any idea whether it was stationary in that location or moving around in that location? Do you recall initially where that location was?
When she showed me the app?
Yes.
I believe it was in Wayne.
In Wayne. Okay. All right. Do you know if there were keys in the vehicle?
She did not have the keys while I was talking to her.
Okay. So I'm asking of your personal knowledge. Do you know if there were keys in the vehicle of your personal knowledge?
On her person?
No, in the vehicle.
In the vehicle?
Yes. Not sure. Don't know. So you don't know if Mr. McLaughlin had keys or not, do you? Okay. Well, thank you very much, Deputy. I don't have any further questions.
Can you redirect?
No redirect, John.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Deb.
Mr. Brown and I approached the bench very.
You may. Okay, record should reflect we had a bench conference in this case. What I'm going to do is there's a scheduling an emergent issue with the other deputy that needs to testify in this case. We'll see if he frees himself up from what activity he's involved in right now at some point. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass this matter and we'll call it up later.
And as soon as we related to bench, as soon as I have an update regarding the deputy's availability, I'll communicate with the court staff.
All right, very good. All right. So it's called the case of the People versus McLaughlin.
Andrew Childers is hearing on behalf of people. We're ready.
All right, although we were trying to avoid adjourning, my understanding is the circumstance which the officers involved in is a much more serious one than.
Right, and in fact, another deputy just left because they're requiring extra assistance. Just so the record's clear, that the deputy, Rob, who's involved in this case, is on the SWAT team. They are currently dispatched to some sort of barricaded gunman situation, and that situation has not cleared, so.
Did our best, we could try anyway. So preliminary examination in this matter will be continued 17th at noon.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Continuing.